Warm welcome.
I've got this one. Thanks so much, Michaela. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. We're delighted to be here for this green carpet premiere event of the film Becoming Nature Positive. And you're very welcome to join us. We're delighted that you're here. This is actually the first time that this film will have been screened on the big screen. Before we kick things off, we want to take the opportunity of having all of our speakers here and bring everyone up on stage. You're going to meet them all a little bit later in the program, but get our speaker photo as things kick off. So please all, from the front row, do come up. André, Paul, Dorothy, Ilona, Eva, Marco. This will just take one moment so you can see who our cast of the evening is. Okay, thanks.
Can I be named to Gemma?
Yes, electric. Excellent. All looking at Stefan.
Ilona. Are we all in there? Yeah.
3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Please take your seats again. That was a sneak preview for the short conversations we're going to have also this evening. So as I said, it's the first time this new film is being seen on the big screen. I also want to offer a very warm welcome to all our audience joining online. This event is being live streamed. You are equally welcome, and we're delighted that it's being made available to anyone all around the world. And so that you don't feel left out, please know this is also the first time that the film will have been seen publicly on the small screen. So everyone is getting an exclusive premiere. And of course, this is the hottest ticket in Davos tonight. Thanks for making time to join us. Hopefully you grabbed some popcorn on your way in and are feeling in the mood. My name's Gemma Parks. As Michaela said, I'm the head of communications for the Nature Positive Initiative. And this film was inspired by the book of the same name. I think most people in this room and online will be familiar with that. It's Becoming Nature Positive, Transitioning to a Safe and Just Future. It's a multi-author book. We're going to hear a little bit more about it later on this evening, published by Routledge Earthscan in June 2025. The book is brilliant. Please get hold of a copy and read it. But we have, as the Nature Positive Initiative Coalition, been thinking, how can we take this really critical content and reach wider audiences and different generations, different audience groups, all sectors, in a way that, is accessible? The book is great, but not everyone has got time to immediately read 300 pages. And so we wanted to work with brilliant filmmakers to create this visual storytelling version of Becoming Nature Positive. I just want to draw your attention, before we move on, to these two laurels. We were being very modest, of course, but please notice these because it's quite exciting. You need your binoculars, but I'll read out what it says. It's an official selection for the Nature Without Borders International Film Festival. And the other one is that we're a semi-finalist for the New York Indie Shorts Award. So, very exciting. Thank you for sharing it in our enthusiasm for that. And hopefully more to come. We're in the middle of an impact and promotion campaign for this film. And with that in mind, I want to also reach out to all of you in the room, all of you online, to please get in touch. If you can see an opportunity or think of a moment when we can screen the film or use it as an opener to start important conversations about Nature Positive, please do get in touch. Brief overview of tonight's special program. In a very short moment, we are going to have special opening remarks. Then we have a short conversation on stage with one or two of the authors of chapters of the book and contributors to the film. Then the film itself, don't worry, it will happen very soon. And then to close, we have wanted to create space for a brief fireside chat to share some quick reflections together on the film and then continue our evening in the beautiful foyer. By the way, I meant to say thank you again to the Green Up team. We're delighted to have this premiere in such a beautiful space, in the Kulturplatz Cinema in Davos. We couldn't think of a better space. So please do stay with us, enjoy some canapes and refreshments, and don't forget to get your green carpet photo. So this is a celebration of the film, but it's also, as we all know in this room and online, a critically important and urgent topic. And the theatre here is really teeming with amazing people who feature in the film or have written a contribution to the book or a chapter in the book, or both in many cases, or in any case, all of you are really champions for this work to drive the nature positive transition. And with that in mind, I'm really delighted that we're going to have a true nature champion who will share some opening remarks before we move on with the program. So I'm going to invite in a moment André Hoffmann to join me, please, on stage. André. Thank you so much. Thanks, André. You can take one of those. You're always busy, but I think this week you're busier than ever. So we're really grateful that you could make time to join us. People always say this, that you don't need any introduction. It's true for you, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're the vice chair of Roche Holding. You're the co-founder, along with Rosalie, of course, of Intent. And you're a co-chair of the World Economic Forum, among wearing many other hats. Let's just move forward ahead of these tables. So, and it also, perhaps what people may not know, I don't think that was news to anyone here, but André does feature in the film, and you have also very kindly written the foreword to the book, Becoming Nature Positive. So, André, thanks for making time. Welcome, and over to you.
Thank you very much. I mean, all these special remarks and okay, I will keep it as simple as possible. You had the book, you now have the film. The film is going to sort of bring forward a couple of ideas, and I think it's important that we use the all possible medium. I'm going to tell you an anecdote about the film. I was recruited to shoot a little piece of it, and Marco invited me to it. I think it was in Gland somewhere, and I sat down, and my shirt wasn't the right one. You know, it had little strip, and the guy said, "No, you can shoot that. Not possible." No. So Marco took off one of his T-shirts. So you will see I wear a black T-shirt. That's I think it's the only time in my life I worn a black T-shirt. But you know, maybe it suits me. I don't really know. You will tell me. No, I just thought since I have the microphone, I would sort of talk about the meeting of the World Economic Forum here, the annual meeting in Davos. We have given as a theme a spirit of dialogue because we want to bring our unusual members to talk to each other, to exchange, and to try to move forward the common agenda. We have given ourselves 5 strategic priorities. One is growth, because we think that growth is important to get rid of the debt that we have accumulated, and not only debt financially, but debt for all sorts of dimensions. We have decided that we want to talk about geopolitics, and tomorrow is going to be an interesting day. I've just been told reliably that most of our telephone will be disconnected so that we cannot sort of talk about you know who. You've all read Harry Potter, no? The one that cannot be named. No? He's going to be there. So the fourth one will be, of course, to talk about the people and innovation, because AI and the way AI is being used has an impact on people. So we want to talk. We want to talk about growth. We want to talk about innovation. We want to talk about people in the broader sense, and we want to talk about geopolitics. But the fifth one, and that's the one that really so important here, we want to do all this. All these challenges have to be resolved within planetary boundaries, in a nature-positive way. So if you want to sum up what the Forum of Davos is this year, it's enabling resilient and sustainable growth for all within planetary boundaries. And I hope you'll have an opportunity. And I leave it at that. Thank you very much, and enjoy the movie. Sadly, I'm going to have to go.
Thank you so much. Thanks, André. Let me walk around you. Good luck with a really busy week. Thanks a million, André. We appreciate it very much that you could be with us. So that was the perfect way to set the stage for the evening. And now it's my great pleasure to invite to join me for a brief pre-film conversation 3 more amazing nature champions. Marco Lambertini, please come up, convener of the Nature Positive Initiative, but also, as I think everyone knows, the commissioning editor and lead author of the book, Becoming Nature Positive, and really the driving force behind the film. Marco. Next, Dorothy Maseke, please. Dorothy, as we all know, is head of the African Natural Capital Alliance. And Dorothy also authored the chapter in the book on nature positive finance. Welcome, Dorothy. Thank you. And Ilona Szabó, please also join us, president of Igarapé Institute. Ilona also features in the film and was really a driving force between the special Brazilian edition of the book. Lovely that you could be with us. Thanks, Ilona, please. And do check out our website. It's beautiful, the Brazilian edition as well.
Gemma, you are as sparkling in your moderation as in your dress.
Thank you very much, Marco. I will take that compliment. Thank you. I'm going to start with you, actually, Marco. Please, could you just sketch out for us briefly why a film on becoming nature positive, and how does that link to the book of the same name?
Because you gave me the opportunity to share a shirt with André Hoffmann. Brotherhood of shirts. No, thank you, Gemma, and thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate it, so many of you. And sorry for the ones who haven't been able to join us because the event was oversubscribed. Obviously, the main objective of the film was to, as you say, in an accessible way, hopefully, but also in a profound way at the same time, explain what nature positive, the nature positive goal and ambition mean. Why it's so important, why it's so important now, and I think more importantly, what it takes to turn it into reality. Because nature positive is a lovely inspirational strapline, but it's actually a measurable goal that requires a lot of change. And I think the three key messages of the movie from me, and everybody will take their own messages in the way they will absorb the movie individually. But for me, the three messages, the first is an uncomfortable message, but I think is a very important one and unavoidable, which is the fact that we're living dangerous times. We're living times of consequences. And you're living the greatest threat that humanity has ever faced. Because we are undermining the very earth systems that have guaranteed stability, livability to our planet, particularly for the last several thousand years, by the way, allowing humanity to prosper and develop so spectacularly like never before. So that's the first message. The second message is that we're living times of paradoxes. And one of the greatest paradox is the development paradox, the economic paradox, the growth paradox, the paradox of a model of growth and economy that is actually destroying its own foundation. It is destroying the natural asset, the natural resources, the natural services that provide everything that we need in our economy, in our society, in our lives, for our happiness, well-being. So, and the third message is we live in times of possibility. We live in times of the great chance and the great choice of humanity to really abandon the previous model that has served a lot of people very well. Let's not forget that. But that now has done its time. And we need to turn page and we need to transition from a nature negative, exploitative approach to our development to a nature positive one. Because we know science is clear, evidence is mounting. We know that the only way we can secure a people-positive future, a future safer for people, more just for people, for our children, for the children of the world, is a nature-positive one. There is no other option. Change is unavoidable. Change is unavoidable. Either we decide to drive it and to embrace it, to stop taking nature for granted, stop separating ourselves from nature, stop exploiting and wasting nature's resources and services, or you know what. So I think change will be imposed on us. The choice is super clear, but the transition is where we need to focus on. And the movie is beginning to lay the ground for what the transition may look like.
Definitely. Thanks, Mark. I think you've summarized it perfectly, that we are in a situation of danger and crisis, but there's a huge opportunity and change is happening. So
the most exciting time for a generation to be at the moment where we can really change course.
Absolutely. Let me move to Dorothy. I'd love to ask you, why and how should the messages of the book and the film really resonate in the Global South?
So, as an author, co-author,
yes,
I want to say that it's one thing to write the book. It's another to actually sit back and watch a short film about it. And why is this so important? And why does, I was reflecting on this film today. And the film actually describes exactly what we have been saying from Africa, from the eyes of those who live the realities that whatever happens in terms of nature loss means no food on the table, means no jobs, means you go fishing and there's no fish, means there's no water, with 25% of our countries already facing a water crisis. For us, this particular subject on nature positive is not an ideology. It's not a policy aspect. It's not a policy goal. It's not an ideology. It's actually really, really our lived realities. And so when you look at nature positive in the context of not just the book, but in the context of the film itself, you can infer that with nature positive, then there's food on the table. Health crisis, becomes a matter that can be resolved. It means, more importantly, agency for communities, not exclusion, because that's a big challenge. And many of these impacts are immediate for us, and they are actually personal. And one thing I want to mention, I was given 3 minutes, and it's really hard to talk about this thing in 3 minutes, so I'll really try. But one thing I want to say is that what we do as nature stewards in Africa and the global south is unfortunately overlooked. We are custodians of the world's most critical resources, 65% of the world's arable land, 30% of species. Our forests, our oceans, our landscapes, our biodiversity, our species actually are not only important for local communities, but for global stability. And so, unfortunately, as a continent, as a global south, we are framed as risk, an area of risk. We are framed as a place of uncertainty. And so we look at things as charity and sacrifice. That's how we are looked at. Yet we are already stewarding these very important resources. And we do this with limited financial resources, with limited access to finance, with limited recognition of the role that we actually play. And so for us, becoming nature positive is not to choose between people and the planet, food and the planet, but these are development pathways that really lead to economic resilience, social resilience, political resilience, and pathways that do not repeat this extractive aspect.
Yes.
And so I just finish off, sorry, let me just finish by saying that we are shifting from this place of vulnerability, and you will see through the movie, depending on how you look at it, into saying that there's innovation, into saying that there are solutions, but also into saying that these transitions, we acknowledge, they're not easy. They cannot be solved tomorrow, but it is possible, and that's what resonates most for us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dorothy. And exactly as you say, the transition to nature positive is not a luxury. It's something that is about survival for everybody. No, you expressed that so well. Thank you. Ilona, I'm going to come to you. Coming out of COP30, we met each other a few months ago in Belém. Yes, exactly. Very different climate. Could you say some words for us on how you see the net zero and nature positive agendas converging?
For sure. Thank you, Gemma. Thank you, Marco, for putting all of us together here. Thank you for all of you to just come, and the ones that are not with us in presence here, but watching. First of all, I think it was a moment in time, COP30, where nature really entered the climate agenda, the Rio Convention's agenda, and is there to stay. So it's on us to never allow this separation again. And I think that's a big goal and gain that we had, and I think that's for us to secure. And then 3 main takeaways. The first one, for those that were there experiencing COP30 in Belém with all the challenges but all the beauty, I think it was very clear, not from this community because we already bought in, but for others, that to rescue the mission 1.5, we not only need the roadmap to transition away from fossil fuels, but we need the roadmap to zero deforestation, and we need to scale up carbon capture, especially with high-integrity nature-based solutions. And this was messaging that came from Belém, and it's something that we have to work with. The second one, what is the zero deforestation roadmap? has to be a nature positive one. So yes, we have to start by tackling the issues we work with in the Amazon basin and elsewhere, Dorothy, as you know, like environmental crime, the whole deforestation-free supply chain, illicit financial flows. But we also need desperately to scale up high-integrity nature finance, high-integrity markets, to believe that there is a pathway for bioeconomies, for regenerative agriculture. So it's a nature-positive roadmap. And it's on us to build. Brazil needs help. We need to deliver this at COP31. And the third takeaway is that we have to really work with nature to rebuild trust in the multilateral system. Nature is this geopolitical asset, converges with our climate, food, energy stability, sustainable development, peace. So how can we rebuild the norms of this world, international cooperation, through the love and the need that we have for nature? So we have this year 3 COPs, the 3 Rio Convention COPs. Let's make sure that all these messages resonate and we bring together. If you need any more information, reach out to us, read the book, watch the film. It's an amazing community that have all the resources needed for all of us to champion this. So come together.
Thanks, Ilona. Absolutely. And I think being in Belém for COP30 on the edge of the Amazon was really a moment for me that showed that, if ever before, nature and climate agendas are so inextricably linked. We can't separate them. And, you know, hearing these incredible Amazonian thunderstorms, almost you had to stop your conversations and hearing nature right there with us when we were talking about climate. Thanks so much. Marco, I'm going to come back to you very briefly, if you can. I'd like you to summarize, how did it feel to make a movie about nature positive? You've worked on this for a long time. You've put a lot of heart into it, and now a film on nature positive. How was that for you?
Harder than it seemed at the beginning, but honestly, it obviously super exhilarating. But the main thing that happened was the budget. So I thought I had a budget which was sufficient to do a good movie. So we had to come, and by the way, thanks a lot to Open Planet Studios. They're not here, they were just a minute ago on the green carpet, because the incredible track record, incredible flexibility, knowledge, they really have helped us a lot to come up with something that would have costed even more. But so the real issue was that the main budget for a movie like this, I had no idea, is actually shooting in different locations. That the main bulk of the cost. And so we had to choose one event where we could grab as many people as possible in one location and shoot there. So we identified this event. We had 2 days for 20 plus interviews. It was like speed dating. We had these people coming in, coming out, interview. And as some of you know, speed dating comes with some problems, including the fact that some people didn't show up at the right time, and so we had double booking, and this kind of. Anyway, was super fun. But the real funny thing was, I'm so glad André mentioned, and not me, but the thing of the striped shirt, because never go to an interview with striped shirts. That's one lesson I learned.
Yes, it's
on my own skin, literally, and so that was super good. Yeah. And yes, that was their story. And you will see that the movie ends like the movies that you think is finished, but then you say, wait a minute, something next here, the sequel. So there is a part 2. Coming. And so that's an opportunity, because having that location and that budget constraint, basically who was in that location is in the movie. Wasn't a very thoughtful selection. I mean, they were selected, they were a great speaker, but I would have loved so many more to be in the movie. They're here today, the Paul Polman, Jens Nelson, Paul Bennett, champions of Dorothy, oh my goodness, champions of nature positive. There will be a chance. Yes. There will be a chance next time.
Absolutely. We look forward to it. Thank you so much. Marco, Dorothy, Ilona, thank you for that conversation. That was a great way. Yes, please put your mics down safely. Great way to set the scene for the film. And what we're going to do is just move these seats aside. And while that is happening, I just wanted to say and remind everybody that once we've watched the film itself, we're going to have another short conversation, a fireside chat between Eva Szabó and Paul Polman. You don't want to miss it. So after the screening, please stay in your seats for just a moment, and we'll have some brief reflections on the film, and then we'll continue in the foyer with the rest of the reception and enjoy chatting with each other. So without further ado, once this stage has been set, thank you so much, wonderful team. We'll watch the movie.
Always wanted to do that.
Is that still okay?
Thank you. Perfect.
I feel like a movie maker now.
So in 3 words, why we need to embrace nature-positive future: equity, resilience, and human prosperity.
Security, resilience, inspiration. So life, love, and everything. No other alternative. We need nature.
We are nature.
Well, I can do it in 2. It's to win.
The world stands at a crossroads. One that decides the future of humanity and all life on Earth. We are destroying nature faster than at any other time in our history. And the effects on humanity are profound.
We have to recognize that every breath of air we take, every mouthful of food that we take, comes from the natural world. It's the essential ingredient of human life.
Humanity has become a weapon of mass extinction. We are treating nature like a toilet, and ultimately, we are committing suicide by proxy.
Can we build a better future where both nature and humanity thrive? It began with a bold vision. In 2015, the Paris Climate Agreement provided humanity with a framework for decisive action in the face of rising climate emergency.
Paris pour le climat est accepté.
This confidence inspired the global community to pursue an equally ambitious goal. One that focused on halting the catastrophic loss of nature and driving its recovery. In 2022, the world agreed to the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, defining the path for nations to unite under a shared ambition. To halt and reverse biodiversity loss by 2030. The nature-positive ambition was born.
As we work towards a zero-carbon future, we must work equally towards being nature positive.
Nature positive is not a slogan. It is a measurable goal for nature to drive action across society, to halt and reverse biodiversity loss for the benefit of all life on Earth, including ourselves.
The global human population is still expanding. Around the world, people need to fish, farm, extract resources, and develop infrastructure. But almost everywhere, this is still done unsustainably and destructively. The demands we place on the natural world will never go away completely. But we can drastically reduce our impacts, promote nature's recovery, and create a better world for all of us.
So the Nature Positive goal is all about making sure that there is more nature tomorrow than there is today.
This united global goal is critical because we are losing nature at an alarming rate. How have we reached this point? Over the last 200 years, we have lived through unprecedented scientific and technological advances. Improvements in food production, medicine, sanitation, and technology have brought great economic and social benefits, leading to a dramatic improvement in the quality of life for many.
The beginning of the 20th century, average global life expectancy was below 40 years. Today, 70. 75% of the global population lived in extreme poverty. Today, less than 10%.
It took humanity 300,000 years to reach a population of 1 billion at the start of the 19th century. It took just over a century more to double this figure, and less than 50 years to triple it. And since the 1950s, we have been adding nearly 1 billion people every decade.
This is what we can call the great rise of humanity. And one can argue that there's never been a better time to be human.
But our meteoric rise to power has come at a cost.
The great rise of humanity was hiding a dark secret. Something that inadvertently or conveniently has been ignored until now. The great decline of nature.
Over the last 70 years, our exponential demographic growth and technological progress have led to a feverish overconsumption of every natural resource available to us. This period marks the Great Acceleration.
We have thought that the planet is a very resilient, robust system, and there's more and more signs that that has been a too optimistic assumption.
As our economies grew, so did the destruction of habitats. The pace at which we now consume the planet's resources is unsustainable, and nature is bearing the brunt.
IUCN Red List is a barometer of life. We can tell the world what is the state of a species. And unfortunately, we are losing a species at a rate that we have never seen before.
We can see the numbers, right? 73% decline in wildlife populations. We're reaching negative tipping points.
If you put together the biomass of all the mammals of the world, 96% is made of us humans and the animals we eat.
We have cut down half the trees, killed half of the coral reefs, and drained 80% of wetlands. More than 90% of commercial fish stocks are now overexploited or fully fished. We have altered more than 2/3 of the planet. And our assault on nature shows no signs of slowing.
We are constantly using natural resources in a way which is just simply not sustainable.
And worse, we are also destroying the very ecosystems that can replenish these resources.
Every statistic is showing that biodiversity is in decline, it is in crisis, and if we don't do something about that, then we cannot rely on the other systems continuing to function as they do.
Does that worry you?
That should worry all of us.
There may never have been a better time for humanity, but our progress and consumption is pushing nature to the point of collapse. And yet, it's this degradation of nature that threatens the foundations of our prosperity and our future.
The great rise of humanity and the great decline of nature represent the two sides of today's development paradox. The economic model that helped humanity to develop so spectacularly has been based on a massive destruction and overexploitation of the very natural resources and services that support it.
Nature provides many benefits to society at many layers, but nature doesn't charge anything for this. When did a bee ever send you an invoice for pollination services? The value of ecosystem services and the rate at which they're being lost is tremendous.
Armed with technology, we can clear cut a forest that's taken millions of years to come into existence. With a trawl in the ocean dragging the seafloor, we can unravel these closely knit systems, thinking it doesn't matter what we take. That nature will always be there. Now we know it's not true.
If we continue with business as usual, we risk crossing planetary tipping points that will destabilize our societies and our economies, and from which we can never recover.
I've always felt that interfering with the natural world is a bit like a giant game of Jenga. You take out a piece by piece, and eventually the whole thing will collapse.
Take the Amazon rainforest. If deforestation there continues, we will soon reach a point when the Amazon simply cannot recover. And the forest will continue to shrink through fire and drought, even if deforestation stops. If this happens, the repercussions will be felt around the world.
The loss of nature has lots of consequences for people. This is being seen now with the disasters, which are nothing natural. They're human-created, becoming more ferocious and more frequent. It's affecting every part of the world.
No, you know, we've, in a sense, totally underestimated the role of nature.
Nature gives us everything that matters. Everything that we all need to live and thrive. A stable climate, the air we breathe, fertile soils, and clean water. Healthy ecosystems regulate water flows, help prevent floods, fires, and droughts, and protect our coastal developments from powerful storms. And nature is our greatest ally in the fight against climate change.
Natural ecosystems on land and in the ocean have captured and neutralized more than half of the CO2 that we have emitted into the atmosphere.
Without nature to offset the damage we're causing, vast swathes of the planet would already be unlivable. This is the great threat we are facing, and we're already seeing increased poverty, hunger, and forced migration as a result of our disregard for nature.
All the science we have today shows that we are in danger, but we have not yet lost it. The window is still open to turn back. So far, what we've learned is that nature is remarkably strong and able to rise after long periods of stress.
It is this very knowledge that marks a critical turning point for our species. For whilst we are in the midst of the greatest threat humanity has ever faced, we are also experiencing a great awakening.
Today, we know we are the most environmentally aware generation of all times. More and more people understand that halting and reversing nature loss is key to our economy, our society, our health and well-being. In this great awakening lies hope and the seed of change.
We are now able to recognize the existential threat we're facing from nature loss.
Earth observation not only observes decline in nature, but effectively guides us towards nature-positive action.
This is vital because our security and prosperity depend entirely on nature.
We all depend on nature, and 100% of the GDP depends on it, in the same way as 100% of the human race depends on nature.
Yet despite this, we tend to only value nature when it's dead.
A tree becomes valuable when you cut it down and it turns into furniture. A fish acquires value when it's caught and served in your dish. Not when the tree is alive on the forest producing oxygen, or the fish is part of the ocean ecosystem and keep it healthy.
When we don't value nature for what it really provides for us, we don't take into account the true costs that will be incurred when we lose nature.
Soil is a good example. We are extracting so much of the nutrients from the soil without giving it back. That is going to hit us very soon through prices in agricultural produce, disrupting value chains, but also entire economies.
We have to find a way to put the natural capital or nature on the companies and maybe countries' balance sheet so that each of the economic decision making is based on the real value, monetary value of natural capital.
Businesses have typically been part of the problem, endlessly taking from nature with impunity. But increasingly, companies within the private sector are recognizing the risks that nature loss poses to their business.
We cannot continue to grow, consume, and not expect any consequences.
This short-termism is very bad for business, for societies, for people.
Known as externalities, a company's impacts on nature and ultimately on society and businesses themselves are economically invisible. And so, they're exploited as if they'll be available forever.
This represents significant risks for companies to not fully understand how they both impact and depend on nature.
Negative externalities need to be managed, need to be measured and reduced. Why? Because today's externalities are tomorrow's risks, and tomorrow's risks are day after tomorrow's portfolio losses.
At the core of this needs to be a recognition that the resilience of a business depends on the resilience of nature. Those two things are inseparable.
Today, businesses are beginning to recognize that embracing nature-positive practices can not only mitigate risks, but also create long-term value for society, for the planet, and for their bottom lines. Valuing nature is not just important for economic reasons. It is also key to building a fairer and safer world.
Nature positive is a vehicle for the economy, for stable societies, for human health.
The only way we can build a people-positive future is to secure a nature-positive one.
It'll be hard to deliver equity for people if we don't have better ecosystems. It'll be hard to develop better ecosystems of nature without equity for people as well.
It's about understanding the responsibility that we have and keeping a planet that is hospitable for children and for future generations.
If we don't act now, we are basically delaying the cost of inaction into the future. Sadly, it's not a long-term future. It will be here before we know it.
We stand before what is perhaps the greatest choice ever faced in the history of our species.
We can continue with business as usual, continue to destroy nature, push Earth systems towards collapse, and put the future of humanity at risk. Or we can transition our societies, our economies, and our future to a nature and people-positive path.
In a way, it's actually quite simple. We simply have to implement the global, legally binding policy agreements that we have already signed on to.
The mission of the Global Biodiversity Framework to halt and reverse nature loss has been hailed as an historic moment, a major win for our planet and all of humanity.
Biodiversity loss or nature loss is not just an environmental issue. It is an economic issue, it is a financial issue, it's a developmental issue, it is a health issue.
Now, with a global biodiversity plan and a shared vision for 2050, the world has chosen a path toward a nature-positive and people-positive future. So how do we get there?
If we want to continue to create the prosperity humanity needs, we need to be able to use nature in a way that is sustainable. The best way to do this is to actually start to measure it.
Corporations and economies can only transform the way they operate when they're able to measure how they impact nature and how they depend upon nature in order to thrive. And they will only be held accountable when they disclose these impacts and dependencies.
Science-based targets for nature equip companies to set measurable, time-bound, quantifiable objectives that enable them to do their part for a nature-positive future.
But we can't just rely on businesses to voluntarily follow this path.
There is a tendency for us to just allow voluntary reporting, but that will never work. Because all that will happen is those which are most responsible will report and those who are not will not. And it's no coincidence that the ones that are the least responsible are some of those who have the largest footprints.
To achieve real change within the private sector, we need incentives and regulation. Regulation helps level the playing field to ensure all businesses across all sectors measure and report their impacts on nature and explain how they will address them.
That's why we need the regulatory environment, the political environment, and the investor environment to help provide the incentives that will drive action in the right direction instead of the wrong direction.
Every year, an estimated $2.6 trillion of public subsidies are given to support practices that damage the natural world. Think what we could achieve if these subsidies were redirected towards practices that protect and restore nature.
We can unlock $10.1 trillion of business opportunities by 2030 if we move towards a nature-positive pathway.
We're seeing really exciting new products and services, new business models being created by working with nature rather than treating nature as an externality.
The opportunity for those that understand their relationship with nature is massive, and it's those companies, those financial institutions, those governments that are going to succeed in the future.
Yet, despite growing momentum to embrace a nature-positive future, significant challenges remain.
Listen, transition is messy. And many people, instead of feeling engaged, they feel like totally overwhelmed. They don't know how to act. They don't know what to ask.
And then it becomes, how much of your lifestyle are you willing to give up to solve this problem? Well, I can tell you, that's completely the wrong mindset. Here it is, we will all lose if we continue the business usual pathway. That we know with 100% certainty.
We must change the narrative. We need to move away from a worldview that sees protecting nature as a burden.
I think we need to recognize that the biggest barrier
to achieving a nature positive goal is ourselves at the moment.
We will not be able to reach a nature positive approach if we don't understand that nature itself has rights. If we continue viewing nature as a resource and not as a source of life.
We need to see the recovery of nature as an investment in a stronger, more resilient economy and a more equitable world.
More than ever before, we understand the problem and we know the solutions. First, protect more of the nature left on the planet. Second, restore what we can. Third, transition key economic sectors from nature negative to nature positive practices. And fourth, redirect public subsidies and private investment to support these nature positive transitions.
If we continue to scale our actions in protecting, restoring, and investing in nature, then not only will nature have the opportunity to thrive, but the benefits to our economies and societies will grow.
I'll tell you an amazing story I just heard. So I was recently in South Africa. And there was a jobs program set up by the government to put young people into work. And we've been using that program to train people how to restore watersheds. The money, as it inevitably does, eventually ran out. We went back 6 months later, and what was stunning to me is that the village has continued to do the work for free because they're getting more water. The community kept doing the activity because they were seeing the benefit. That's the nature positive economy.
If we work together, we can restore nature to levels that no one alive today has ever known, resulting in a safe, more equitable, and more prosperous world. Becoming nature positive is therefore not just an aspiration, it's a responsibility. And perhaps the most inspiring and exciting project any human generation has embarked upon.
It's not a sacrifice. It's not a big cost. It's actually a pathway towards a more modern, prosperous, equitable, secure, and healthier future.
We have created these systems, the financial system, the economic system, the political system, and that means that we can change them.
I want to tell everybody out there that you are a part of the solution towards a nature-positive future.
I have 4 grandsons. I have 1 great-grandson. I know that what we do or fail to do right now will have a magnified impact on their future and all the rest of life on Earth.
Nature positive is not a vision, it's a must. It's something that we have to do.
We are the ones who hold the pen and can write the next chapter in the history of humanity. We can be the heroes and embrace a nature-positive future, or we can be remembered as a failing generation that let nature collapse and destroyed our own future.
We must all be agents of change, embracing a nature-positive mindset in all that we do. Only then can we create a safer and better future. A nature-positive future for people now, for generations to come, and for all life on this planet.
The choice is ours. The choice is clear.
Why don't you do the fireside chat? Are you okay?
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, team. And another round of applause, please. Also to the many people who are in this room and online who played a role in making this film. Thank you so much. I also wanted to give a shout out to the amazing Gillian Burke, who you may have noticed in the credits, but her beautiful, very gentle but profoundly evocative voice. She's our narrator / voiceover. I'm sure you know her. If you're any fellow BBC Springwatch fans, she's been seen on our screens many times. So great job. And of course, the Open Planet Studios team. So now, embracing this spirit of dialogue that's on all of our minds this year, especially in Davos, and in particular, drilling down to that sub-theme that André highlighted before of how can we achieve prosperity within planetary boundaries. I'd like to invite Eva and Paul to join me on stage. Here, please do. Right, I'm going to go here. So Eva Zabe, thank you. Please come and join me, is CEO of Business for Nature. You will recognize Eva from the film, of course, but Eva also wrote the chapter in the book on the role of business in achieving a nature-positive economy. And also Paul Polman, who is, of course, business leader, investor, philanthropist, and also an author of another book that I'm sure many of you have read, Net Positive. Welcome to both of you, and thanks so much for joining me. First of all, I'd love to ask you both, could you just share some fresh reflections and thoughts in reaction to having just watched the film? Eva.
Thanks, Gemma. Well, I have to admit that at the beginning of the film, I actually felt physically sick. And then it's true at the end, it's sort of uplifting a bit. But it's made me reflect a bit on different emotions we may have. And there's one emotion that we keep on asking ourselves and leaders. We keep on saying, we've got to be courageous. We've got to be bold.
Yes.
But what does that depend on is confidence. And you can't just switch confidence on. And I was thinking about this actually over the holidays. I was very lucky to be able to go skiing, but the skiing conditions were really hard. And recently I had a few little accidents, minor things, not to worry, but it shook me. And so I realized that I wasn't as confident as I used to be. And it made me think, well, there are two things that are really affecting this, which is one is the external situation, the conditions actually matter. If it's hard and icy, it does matter. And the context matters, but then it's also internal, what's in your head, and how do you rebuild that? And we have the same thing today here in the world we live in, which is the external context is very different than what it was 5 years ago when we had tailwinds, and we need to acknowledge that. But the inside bit is what I'm interested in, because this film could potentially rebuild some of that confidence that we do have the solutions, and we can create a peer support network across everyone here. And Nature Positive Initiative has done an amazing job at doing this, because ultimately we need to be able to pass the baton to others when we need to, and we need to cheer each other on so that we are ready to provide that courage and confidence which will ultimately change the systems we live in.
Absolutely. No, thanks for sharing that, Eva. And exactly as you say, if one day we were able to somehow ignore the nature crisis, we can no longer ignore it. It's evident in all of our lives around the world. And tackling it, finding the solutions, has to be an all-of-society approach. Absolutely. Paul, let me come to you. Any fresh reflections?
I thought it was amazing. I have to honestly confess, I looked at it sneakily on my iPad already before. But there's something different if you see it on a big screen. You know? And as a Dutchman, I was even more flabbergasted when Marco was telling me with his limited budget how he was able to produce this. So I wish I would have hired him at Unilever well before he was making these films. But you know, one of the truths in Davos is to be counted in Davos, you either need to be mentioned in a report or ideally have a photo in there. You need to be on a panel, otherwise people wonder what you're doing. But we have added a whole different dimension. You now need to be in a documentary to make it in Davos. So I think that's it. I looked at your 3 objectives, etc., establishing the problems and the impacts of that and the solutions. I think you're hitting it in a very engaging way. I was what I noticed was when the film was over, which went much faster than actually I hope most people realized. We were just sitting there captivated, and it was over before we knew it. But you could hear the sigh in the audience. You could hear you're releasing your tension or your anxiety or your desire to do something that I think is very important. One of the key challenges that we have, and Eva alluded to that, but I was thinking of it, you know, we all live in buildings like this, but nobody cares about the foundation of the building until you get an earthquake. But, you know, no one really cares. And we have just too many people now that we pile up in concrete places, which we call cities. You know, we build in Madrid every week and we build in New York every month. And the more we do that, we are removed from what actually keeps us alive. And so we show these things. You know, we've shown many images over the years of things that are happening. And there have been many films out there as well, and Edinburgh playing a great role in it. But we've not been able to get into the hearts and minds of what soon will be 70% of the world population living around concrete. And frankly, not communicating with each other. We think we do, but increasingly we don't. So the thing that we need to push more and more, and this film is a great catalyzer for that, is to make clear to people, and all too often I hear, yeah, but if I do this, it costs me money, or if I start changing, I'm at a disadvantage versus others. Now, you can do Johan's argument in the film, like ultimately, you know, we won't exist because we all depend on nature, but it is actually becoming a little bit theoretical for many people who are living in the rat race of today and wondering what Trump is going to say tomorrow. You see, so, but then the reality is we're paying the price now. It's not actually 10 trillion today, in due respect to the film, but the healthcare cost from us in this aspect, if you add that up, is already around 15 to 20 trillion dollars. So we are at the point already that we're spending far more money now doing the wrong things than actually what it would cost us to not have to deal with these issues in the first place. The famous cost of action versus inaction. And people are not aware of that. It's amazing, like, for example, and I don't want to pick on any country because I could pick on others, but I spent most of my time in the UK, and then we say, well, we need to change the UK food and land use policy. I happen to have a farm, so we have two years of people there. Eva was there, many others, and we're trying to figure out what recommendations we give to the government. And then the government says, no, we can't do it because then the consumers will have to pay more, inflation is high, and nobody is able to explain that we're already paying more now for not doing it. So if people would be more aware of the sacrifices, you know, life is actually the how do I say that? The satisfaction of life is actually coming to a great extent from the ability to make choices. And if we get into a situation where we are not able to make choices, we clearly saw in, let's say, communist countries, people were less happy than in countries where there's democracy and freedom, where people feel they're participating in these choices. And nature now, and the destruction of nature that we see, is actually rapidly restricting our choices. But people are not aware of it because it's coming slowly at you, like a frog in a boiling pan. But our liberty is taken away in that sense. Yes. We can only run businesses if we have choices, and then we drive to the right conclusions. Here we don't, but we're not able to attach it. Even with this film, we need to go further to the individual to say it's already here. It's not something out there for tomorrow or for others, and that's
definitely, Paul. And you mentioned choice, and that's really where this short film closes, is the fact that we are at a crossroads
100%.
And we all have choices to take to shift to that nature positive future, to drive it. And Marco hinted at a sequel. We'll make sure that you're in it, by the way, Paul, as well, please. We would love that.
Some very good actors.
And it needs, as you highlighted, Eva, the film is. I've watched it many times. Of course, I'm biased, but it moves me. It gives me goosebumps, and so it's, I think we shared a moment this evening, and it was quite a special occasion to share it together. But it's moving. It could be depressing, but as you say, the narrative shifts somewhere in the middle of the film, and we look then towards the future, and it's very much about, or intended to be about, the fact that we can change the trajectory. It's in our hands, and so. Can I ask you both what, it's a big question, and we could talk for hours, but could you think of like some top points on those key next steps? What does need to happen? What are some of the solutions that can be actioned now that will need to feature in the next sequel? And I'm taking notes. I'll go to you first, Eva.
Okay. Thanks. So I think, first of all, we need to take responsibility and help with the implementation of the Global Biodiversity Framework. So we were all super instrumental in getting what is probably one of the most explicit and ambitious multilateral agreements. Great. It's not just saying, well, good luck, guys, off you go. We need to be part of it, and business has a critical role in actually making the Global Biodiversity Framework successful. And we're already doing work, by the way, at Business for Nature with our partners at a national level, creating business-government dialogues in Nigeria, Indonesia, South Africa, Chile, Ecuador, and Mexico. So build on that. Number one is we need to help with the implementation. Number two is exactly what Paul was saying, which is we've got to be shifting these environmentally harmful subsidies into a much more positive narrative, which are, where are those government-led fiscal and financial incentives? It's people's it's taxpayers' money that people should have a say about where then that can be redirected to. And I think that that's a much more constructive and I think a quite a more comfortable conversation for businesses to have with governments and for governments to have than a knee-jerk reaction of we're going to take something away. It's better to put the incentives there. And I think it's helpful. A lot here we celebrate, the renewable energy, the cost going down, solar going down is fantastic. Some people feel it, sometimes feels in the conversation, it's a bit like it's magic that the market has picked it up. But it's important, as a few people have been saying, but to just take a bit of a step back and say, how was that ignited? Was also through incentives. And we know how to set these up. And so we should be setting the incentives. And then the final bullet on my list is also for those business leaders that are really taking the action. They may have been through a phase of understandably more quiet leadership. I understand it, we all do. We need to realize that that has to be a period that is temporary, because otherwise all we're doing is just leaving the space wide open. So we can be understanding and supportive and understand that the actions are still taking place, but we need the business leaders to be on this journey with us. In October, it's COP17. We have to continue with the implementation, and we're really delighted to include as many of the business leaders with us on that to really make a difference.
Definitely. And tools exist. There's the Now for Nature campaign to support businesses in developing nature-focused strategies and so many other things. Absolutely. Paul, what do you see as the way forward in a positive solutions-focused sense?
So I can't boil the ocean at once or eat the elephant in one bite for the ones who like that. But I focus on the private sector a little bit more as where I see the opportunity for bigger tipping points. But that is simplifying it, because we need separate messages for citizens of this world, for investors, for the business community, for governments. I think what we've learned in the whole climate debate, that we need to fine-tune a little bit the message. So this film is an awareness message, but if you really want to get these individual groups of stakeholders to move, we need to spend more time on it. And that's tough, because on the climate change also we've seen how difficult it is and how quickly we can talk to ourselves, because we're so convinced, So if you look at the business community and you take a step back and you're tough on yourself and you stop explaining all the wonderful things you did and that the problem is in the other companies, you see that only 5% of companies really have thought about nature and even had the discussions in the board. We saw the beginning in climate change, the same thing. But it took us much longer. And I think the climate change debate, where companies have moved forward, they've discovered it. They're not moving as fast as we want to, but we've seen a big step change over the last few years, I would argue, is actually helping the nature debate. That's why I think you see a higher and quicker engagement of the private sector. We were surprised with the, let's say, Tony is here of the of the TNFD, that you have over 750 companies or 25 trillion of money under management, and that's real stuff. Also, because the investments are probably lower, the payouts are quicker. And it's a pleasure to see. In Unilever, we were able in less than 10 years' time to move it to about 85% sustainable sourcing. But actually, the money we saved as a result of that was very measurable. I have a farm, and in a few years' time, the barn owl is back, the otters are back. You have, you get biodiversity that you didn't know existed anymore. The nightingales come back and sing at you because you've done such a good job. So life is becoming, better than Disney has ever been able to exemplify. So the quick return that you can get from these investments need to be understood. Businesses that lead, that say, I'm working on my watersheds to get clean water for my factories instead of putting in big purification systems, will tell you that's a saving in itself. People that invest in sustainable tea plantations and livelihoods, or put trees in the Mau forest so that you keep having the water there, people will understand that makes sense. Can we use more of these companies to speak up and become louder? Because this is actually a less controversial issue than climate change has become. This actually is not a political issue.
Right.
I would argue it's the opposite, that most of the climate side has probably not focused on this and has become obsessed to not give this its full credit. So I see a tremendous opportunity for the business community to get this storytelling in to them. And we have a great start. How quickly the TNFD has gotten off the ground, what you are doing was business for nature, etc. It took us much longer on climate change. So let's capitalize on that. Can we get a big enough group of people now, of leaders, that are willing to speak up and be the champions of this and feel comfortable? And I think whilst, we had a hard time even in Paris in 2015 to get enough CEOs on the panels, because they said, I'm not going to debate with all these scientists. I don't wear sandals. I don't have a beard, that type of stuff. So, now they're knocking on the doors to be on any panel. So we need to get a broader group of champions. They're willing to put a lot of money in the oceans, a lot of foundation stuff here or there, but they need to speak up. They need to be André. Because let's just be honest with the WEF as well. And I don't want to say that too loud, but we wouldn't have been on the agenda to this extent were it not for André. We would have had a quite different agenda. So he's presenting it well, and I give him a lot of credit, but he should get the credit for speaking truth to power and having it on the agenda. But we still have to fight for it in many cases. The money that goes into this direction is minimal. Nothing. 5% of all the money we spent on climate change at best. Agreements that are being made. We were all in Colombia, in Cali. Nothing has gotten on the table. I mean, the first, you were there, Marco, and we were ashamed. My own government here is 5 million or something. What is 5 million? We're contributing. So we tick the box. So people are not serious about that. So if we don't speak up and say that, so what does business need to do? Of course, measure and all the things that's in and said, I'm fine, but it needs to get inside of you. It needs to get, courage comes from internalizing it. It's a hard word. It's a human thing. That humanness, we need more people that can understand that. Absolutely. I always quote Hubert Reeves, who I think he said it very well when he said, man is the most insane species. He worships an invisible God and destroys a visible nature, not realizing that the visible nature he destroys is the invisible God he worships in the first place. And that brings you to a different level for a lot of the CEOs who understand that and understand this real connection, this integral part of where we are. And if they can become more of our spokespeople, that is better. Where we also then fall short is obviously you need to move to regenerative. I wrote the book Net Positive, but Marco and I on the same line, and we probably thought the same and put the same books out there. But if we don't run businesses regeneratively, we will never get there. We can't say CSR-wise we are less bad. We need to snap people out of that. To say I'm better than the other guy, but my plane goes down as well, a little less fast than the other, is not a good story. I used to kill 10 people, now I only kill 5 people. I'm not a better murderer. But that is still how we run the businesses. So if we don't change that mindset and say we need to be net positive today, and we can do that, especially with nature. Difficult in some other areas, but here I'm more convinced.
Yes.
The third thing, and then I'll finalize it. The third thing is, obviously, we need to take responsibility from this total value chain. If we want companies behind it at scale, we need to take that responsibility through with our partnerships through our whole value chain. And then last but not least, be out there much more on the advocacy side. It is amazing actually when Europe again tried to water down, that seems to be the sports of the day, and we had the deforestation things that we've all worked on. It was hard, to be honest. Normally we get 150 companies, we send letters to Brussels, we might fly there, etc. It was hard. There were many companies that said, you know, I don't want more legislation, I don't want more legislation. They feel that some other parts of the world can dictate it upon us. I mean, this is serious stuff. We're playing not with fire, we're playing with our own lives. So we need to get people to be a little bit more courageous, to help the politicians, not blame the politicians. It's too difficult for them. But if we de-risk individually and collectively, I think we can move some of these things forward. Ultimately, like Convener saying in the movie, ultimately you need these frameworks to be there. Otherwise, you won't get there at the time frame that we have.
Yes, thanks, Paul. Fully agree. I'm going to, with an eye on the clock, I'm going to draw our chat to a close. But my last question to you is, as the movie opened, I'm going to ask you to share with us, what does nature positive mean to you in 3 words? And I'll go to you first, Paul.
Life.
You've done it in 1. Eva.
Balance. Go on, you say another one. What is it? Are we done?
Yeah.
We're doing 1 each. It's hard, Gemma.
It's hard, okay. It's true.
Life, yes, courage, happiness.
Absolutely. Life, courage, happiness. That's nailed it. Thank you both very much, Eva Szabó and Paul Polman. Thanks for joining. Thank you very much again. And thanks to you all. Before we close, we just wanted to share a couple of very last quick notes. Apart from thank yous, to, of course, the whole, Michaela and the whole team of Green Up, fantastic Open Planet Studios team. I wanted to give a special shout out to our producers, Ed, Charles, and also Dan Huertas and the brilliant crew. Absolute joy to work with, not to mention, of course, Colin Butfield and Johnny Hughes. The whole team are fantastic. You've witnessed that tonight. Thanks to you all for being with us. It has been a very special moment to share. Also, thanks to everyone who's joined us online. Do watch out for other excellent live stream sessions with the Climate Hub. There's also Intent at Davos doing lots of great live stream sessions. Do check all of that out. Also, another thing for everybody to watch out for is we're going to be streaming the film on WaterBear, the Impact platform. That's coming soon, sometime in February. So do stay tuned for that. We need all of you. Please do go onto our channels, Nature Positive Initiative on social media, find the film, find our content, and share with your contacts. As we said, we need to spread the word and get everybody on board, and we're keen to arrange other screening events and other outreach. A quick note on the book, you can see it behind me. It's been selling in hundreds of copies. If you check that QR code, you can order your own print copy, but we also have a free open access version available online that you're all welcome to download and read. Please do. It's actually, we've now had almost 19,000 views and downloads of the open access book, so that's a great result already. Let's get that number even greater, so please do share it. We, by the way, do, meanwhile, for those in the room, have a few copies in the foyer. It's first come, first served. You can get it signed, of course, by some of the authors who are with us here, but happy to share that with you. And do stay with us for the green carpet moment. It could arguably have been a blue carpet. Of course, as we know, the planet is blue from space, but there was a blue carpet event already for the ocean film in June. So we thought, let's make this a green carpet. Maybe next time it will be a blue-green marble reflecting the Earth. So thank you very much, and we look forward to continuing the evening with you. Thank you, everybody.